Call to order the September 26th meeting of Building and Grounds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cassianis,
Present.
Ms. Ford,
Present.
and Ms. Gately.
Present.
Observing, Ms. Capola, Mr. Nicholson, and Mr. Sadoway, and Mayor McGee.
Tonight, we're going to discuss the lease agreement, and I hope approve the lease agreement. I think it's a great deal, and I'll entertain Dr. Tudwell. Did you want to speak on behalf of this, on the YMCA rental agreement?
First, to thank Kathleen Walsh and the new site director, Andrea Baez, for their invitation to consider it's really a whole floor of classrooms, 5 classrooms. So thank you for the invitation, and then thank you for the flexibility around costs. For us, this would have an immediate impact for pre-K programming. And as we look at the numbers of students who are in the queue for evaluations, we are certain that by the end of the school year, all 5 of those classrooms will be full. But assuming that the committee is on board with this lease for the year, we would immediately move 2 classrooms from tech over to 2 pre-K classrooms from tech over to the annex.
And I think that the price is more than reasonable, actually a gift. And also, it's been cleared with ISD and the safety. It's a great little, this is a great deal, I think. In fact, unless somebody has some objections, I would entertain a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the lease agreement with YMCA.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call?
Mr. Cassianis,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Ms. Gately.
Yes.
Recommend we move it to the full committee
Is
during the meeting.
part of it?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's it. Meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Oh, motion to adjourn. Yes.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm like, wait, I'm gonna adjourn.
Just so you know, everybody.
Pause.
What time is it? 6:37? 6:30.
Good evening. Please stand and join me in a salute to the flag as we begin our meeting tonight. And remain standing for a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in memory of Teresa Drew, former paraprofessional, passed away on July 21st, 2019. Michael Hennessy, former teacher, passed away August 5th, 2019. Barbara Wentworth, retired paraprofessional, passed away on August 27th of 2019. And that's Nancy Tuttle, retired teacher, passed away on September 13th, 2019. Thank you. Before we get into the agenda, I'd like to welcome student school committee member Brianna Bishop from FECT O'Leary. I want to welcome her and say, great to have you here with us. There is a motion for minutes on Building and Grounds Subcommittee meeting on September 12th, 2019, to accept the minutes.
Make a motion that we accept Building and Grounds Subcommittee meeting on September 12, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted. Next on the agenda is the 13th regular meeting.
Make a motion to accept the 13th regular meeting on September 12, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is accepted. Next on the agenda is appointment and elections. I ask Superintendent Tutwiler to
Yes, sir.
please
Happy
jump in.
to. Always thrilled to welcome new professionals to our professional family. And the first is Laura Malika, who is our new grants manager. If you come on down and say hello. Or more if you want.
I wanted to thank Kevin McHugh and Vaughn Wyattek and Elise Fannin for my support and making me feel so welcome. I'm really excited to start on Monday.
Wonderful. We're excited to have you. Welcome aboard.
Great. Congrats. Welcome.
Next in the role of out-of-district program specialist is Lisa Samora, familiar face. Come on.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you very much for the opportunity. I know many of you and I look forward to working really hard for the district.
You're here. Welcome.
Great.
Congratulations. Also in the role of out-of-district program specialist is Cindy Brown.
I also want to say thank you to the school committee for, approving the position, and Dr. Tutwiler and Alicia Jameson for the opportunity to work further with the students and parents of this district that is so dear and very passionate. So, thank you.
Congratulations. I know she couldn't be with us this evening, but Allison Mosho Hamilton is the new ELA department head at English High. We congratulate her. And then I've got two nurse elections. The first is I recommend for appointment Heidi Hernandez as a nurse in the Lynn Public Schools.
Make a motion to approve the school nurse election for Heidi Hernandez. Sorry.
Second.
Roll call required.
Mr. Cassianos?
Excuse me, Allison Musho.
No.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. So what was I saying? Heidi Hernandez.
Ms. Capola?
Heidi Hernandez.
Mr. Ford?
Heidi Hernandez.
Ms. Gately?
Heidi Hernandez.
Mr. Nicholson?
Heidi Hernandez.
And Mrs. Satterwhite?
Heidi Hernandez.
And Mayor McGee?
Heidi Hernandez. It's my understanding she's an Lynn English High graduate.
That is correct.
All right, so welcome aboard, and
She's here. Welcome to Heidi. And the next is Tiffany Cabral, who I'd like to recommend for election as a school nurse.
I'll make a motion to elect this for school nurse Tiffany Cabral.
Is there a second?
Second.
It requires a roll call.
Mr. Castellanos,
Tiffany Cabral.
Ms. Capola,
Tiffany Cabral.
Mr. Ford,
Tiffany Cabral.
Ms. Gately,
Tiffany Cabral.
Mr. Nicholson,
Tiffany Cabral.
Mr. Satterwhite,
Tiffany Cabral.
and Mayor McGee.
Tiffany Cabral. Congratulations. Next on the agenda is presentations, the High School Design Initiative.
Invite Shannon Gardner to come up. I wanted to take this opportunity to bring the committee into the know to some deep thinking and conversations that began in late August, mid-August, around how our high schools are organized, and really sort of peeling back the layers and thinking about what opportunities are students not able to access, and how can we think about the structure and the experience of high school differently. So brand new, we just sort of shoved off, but I'd like Shannon to kind of bring you into the know there.
So as we noted in the material we sent out, we have organized a project to work on high school design. High school design is multifaceted. It's spurred by our hopes and dreams for better schools and by new opportunities offered by the state. So under the category of hopes and dreams, I want to mention a few things. Over the years, we've had many significant changes, but our high school design has not changed in response. It's pretty much the same. We want to grow opportunities for students, but we feel the tension of trying to fit programs into a schedule that isn't designed for these programs. We see other districts building pathways and allowing kids to leave campus for internships and to attend early college classes. These are things that we hope to build. There's a need for some sort of advisory period or X block where students can receive social emotional learning, college and career exploration, and opportunities for team building and growth. We also want the flexibility to develop more courses that are exciting, popular, and relevant to our student body so that our students will love to be in school. As we're building these design recommendations, we're also conscious of equity for our students, and we want to make sure that there are on-ramps for students for the new opportunities that we're building. And the next part I want to discuss are new offerings from the state because they are influencing a lot of what we're trying to build. One is the early college designation, which we already have with North Shore and which we're hoping to achieve with Salem State. And the second is a new designation called the After Dark designation. This was unveiled by the state last week, and this state designation will provide sustainable funding to expand tech seats by having students attend LVTI in the afternoon and early evening hours. So we already have some experience with this with our wonderful TAP program. But this will be our permanent daily schedule where students will take their core courses during the day at LEHS, LCHS, in fact O'Leary, and then would be transported to LVTI after school. But for all of this to work, we need to create a flexible course schedule for this set of students. And then lastly, the Smith Family Foundation, which you may have noted in the materials, is funding a consultant for us to work on this project. But in the big picture, they're also involved on the state level with multiple other districts. They're working on both the early college designation and this After Dark designation to help districts build capacity for these opportunities. That's my summation, and if you have any questions.
Member Satterwhite, then Member Nicholson.
Thank you, Shannon, for this presentation. You guys met, it looks like, on August 15th. It looks like there were participants from all factions of the district, which is great. So it seems as though you're telling us what the purpose was, but what came from it is more so what I'd like to know. And if it's in the beginning stages, that's fine. But these are very good things to hear. And I know that parents are already going to reach out to us and ask us about the early college and after dark designations and whatnot. So if you can just let us know about what's the next thing at this point. Is it?
So what has happened is with this group, we have broken into smaller working groups to work on specific things, and those groups are kind of meeting in succession. There's a plan from the consultant to work on that. The first group that met was a big ideas group, and that group is supposed to just think as if they have no obstacles in the way. Like, if we could build this perfect thing, what would it look like? And then those ideas are going to go forward to other groups that are going to try to make that a reality.
And
So these groups are going to function over the next few months and hopefully be able to provide some recommendations December, January. Well, probably should say January.
Is there a district that's already done something like this that we're kind of reaching out to and seeking input?
You know, with our TAP program, we're kind of a leader. We're one of a few districts who has done something innovative like that after school, which is great. We have our own experience to rely on. We've applied for another grant to sort of beef that program up for the spring. Hopefully we get it and we'll get even more information. But the early college convenings that are taking place on the state level, we're a part of them. All the early college programs are different from city to town. So what's great about us getting together with other districts is we're learning from them and getting some great ideas from those districts. The consultants that we have are going to see what we want to achieve, and they're going to bring a lot of information to us. Districts that have done things certain ways, new ideas to broaden our horizons. So that should all be great.
Member Nicholson.
Thank you. First, I just want to say I think this is really exciting. I think that the progress and the focus that we have on building more pathways for students to college and jobs is exactly the kind of priority that we should be talking about. And we've made such great progress. The TAP program you mentioned, the early college project that we have in place, the vocational offerings at FECTO that we've learned about, the shops that's being added to Lynn Tech, it's all really exciting. So thank you for your work on that, your leadership on it, and all the teachers and educators that have been involved in fleshing that out. I think it's really exciting. One of the questions that I had in reading through this design project was about sort of how we're thinking about the partnership that we have. I think that, so you look, the material here, we have the agenda of the meeting, which is really interesting. Besides the consultant, the other party there is the North Shore Community College. And I think that they're an invaluable partner in this. And it's pretty cool to think that we're almost expanding the size of the district by creating a postgraduate pathway, in Inland Public Schools. One of the things I was curious about is if you had thoughts. So anytime you have any kind of partnership of organizations, institutions, each institution, even if you're really close partners, they have their own sort of incentives and when we take care of our students and advise our students, there will be students that either aren't going to college right away or would go to a college that is not North Shore Community College. And obviously North Shore Community College, in trying to offer its service to the community, has an interest in getting as many people who would be interested in enrolling in that institution. So how do we think about that in terms of students for whom we want them to learn about what North Shore has to offer and benefit from the early college program, but we think they might be a better fit at an institution that's not North Shore Community College after graduation? Is that something that comes up at all in sort of our advising process?
I think those are I think that we're bringing in North Shore and Salem State, and if we could expand to more colleges, that would be great, but we at least want to be able to take advantage of those two institutions that are so close to us. We should be growing and growing that. And of course, there are going to be students who are going to other colleges because that's their individual fit that works for them. And I hope that if we can grow the career exploration piece and college and career exploration piece, that students will be able to explore, have more time to explore what really is right for them. And I think that the guidance counselors that we have in our schools are terrific advocates for students finding the right fit for them. Whether that means going on with North Shore, or that means going on with Salem State, or something completely different. I do think that the individual student's fit is really important. And we also have not forgotten students who want to enter directly into the workforce. And so that's something that we want. We have sort of these threads of pathways that we want to weave together so that it becomes more and more clear where students can get those certifications and they can go out with something in their pocket afterward. That doesn't mean they won't go to college at some point, but they'll have more than the average person going out into the workforce. That's what we're hoping for.
That makes a lot of sense.
Can I just, I just want to expand on your question around exposing kids to other colleges. I think our high schools do a really good job. We have the boot camp, college boot camp over the summer. The kids go on college tours all throughout the year. The guidance counselors in the school are bringing in colleges to talk to students. So I do think we expose our students to other colleges. This particular project, there's so many facets to it. That even in the restructuring of rethinking high school, there's multiple pathways that we have to tease through before we really land on what are we going to do. We want to do all of them, but we have to be smart about it. We don't want to just rush into it because then it may not work very well. So, I mean, the team of people are very knowledgeable people, and the main team, this big group that's on this agenda, meets 3 times this year, while in between those meetings, the smaller groups are working and teasing out some of the pieces, and then we bring it back to the whole group, similar to how we did the district strategic planning. And so when we come back as a larger group, we can then listen to each smaller group and what the work they've done and try and then connect things. But it is very exciting. Shannon and I work very closely on this work, and we're excited about it, but it's big. It's really big, and the state, it's all pretty new. And we are working with Department of Education liaisons to help us work through it, the consultant, so we're really putting a big effort into this.
And I just want to add, for North Shore, we do have 2 other partnerships with them, which is Upward Bound and Educational Talent Search. And many of our students visit other colleges through Educational Talent Search. They take them lots of different places, and through Upward Bound, a lot of our students have gone to lots of different places.
We also have just made a connection with Year Up through North Shore Community College as well.
So Member Castellanos, Member Gately, then Member Capola.
I love to learn. I love the picture. I love the idea. I love the fact that this matches up with the superintendent's team of the strategic plan. I can see the effort, and definitely it's resourceful to see that level of collaboration and out of the box thinking for the next generation of opportunities that are available is really remarkable. I think it's inspiring. I think it's really very vital to build more meaningful opportunities for our students. When we talk about pathways for students who are not going into the 4-year college role, that tap into your potential seed of a program we have at Lynn Tech it's vital. That kind of, as we're going over this, it's really it's rich with so much thought and just action. It's really important to see the actions put into partnership development. We see the work. I see it happen. It's really great to see it come to fruition. And to all your hard work and to your dedication to our students, it's really something that I get excited just hearing you. I got lost and I went into deep thought on like these opportunities that these kids get to have, and I'm very grateful to know that you guys are really focused on that, and the fact that the Smith Family Foundation that's going to be partnered up to financially support this as a mechanism is tremendous. And to go back to North Shore and Salem State as they're right next door, to tap into those resources, it's crucial that we do those things. And those efforts, it's like building a house, one brick at a time. And that's what I see here. It's definitely the foundation that we're setting up. It's really it's wonderful. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done on this project. I just have one question so when we talk about social emotional learning, when we talk about enhancing that perspective, how to design programming that's going to fit into our students. I just want to keep in mind that we do have a lot of parentified students in our district, kids who are working full-time, kids who are 17, 16 years old paying bills that are, rent-wise, it's really uncomfortable. Undocumented students who are by themselves in the city of Lynn, and they're looking to receive these opportunities. I think figuring out a design schedule. When you look into scheduling, I know that's something that it's big. It's big. It's really big. But I think we have talented professionals on our side. And I've been saying this since I started, that we're the pioneer of some really, really big things. So.
Member Gately?
Shannon, or Miss Gardner. I'm really thrilled to see internships in this because several staff members have talked to me about internships. I'm very concerned about the high school overcrowdedness, and I think that flexible schedule could actually help with that, and I'm thrilled. I sent Dr. Tutwiler. I was in Ireland when you were having this meeting, so I had no idea this was going on, and I had sent Dr. Tutwiler this email because my brother in 1974 had taken a class. No, he was in high school, and he went to classical for his major subjects and then went over to tech for electronics or electrician in the afternoon. So this falls in place, and I really like this idea, and I can't wait to see how it develops because I really think that it's going to help with our overcrowded high school, having a flexible schedule, allowing the juniors and seniors to go out to work or to internships and help them get into colleges. I just absolutely love it. And I'm so glad we're all on the same wavelength here. So thank you.
Member Capola?
How many students are you looking at to make this available to? I'm not a clue for an exact number, but are you looking at 100 students to start, or are you looking at more than that?
Well, I think that was a big discussion that we had in our very first meeting, was how can this not be just like little niche programs for kids? How can we imagine something that all kids can see themselves in this plan and can see their pathway in the plan? So I couldn't give you numbers yet because we want to dream it that big and go from there.
Okay. So how helpful will it be for the space issues that we have? So, if you're looking at that and you're saying, it's going to help us with space issues, how is that going to help us if we don't have kind of an idea of goal-wise?
So I think that there's going to be different things that are happening. You can see different things lining up, but I'm not really sure how, in practicality, it's going to look. I do imagine that there could be hundreds going to different programs for parts of the day, so it should feel a lot lighter at certain times of the day.
Okay. And are the students going to be able to get credit for the internships and the work experience? Yeah. Because the
They
DOE
do now.
They do now.
They
Okay.
can now.
They
Yep.
can now. Okay. So that's a good thing. What is the amount of grant money that we receive from the Smith Foundation? Do you know?
So through our early college designation, we've received
a little over 100,000. It was like so there's two different buckets of money. From the Department of Ed, early college designation. That money was, I want to say it's like 130, 140,000, but it goes to North Shore Community
We're not the
College.
fiscal
We
agent
don't
for-
hold that
Okay.
money, but we do have access to that money. Like it's a shared money, but a lot of it goes to the cost of the professors to run the class, transportation. Like there's a lot of other things on the college side that takes up those funds. The Smith Family Foundation, we started with a planning grant. It was $200,000.
yeah, I think it's 200,000.
So the planning grant was $200,000, and then the Smith Family Foundation said to North Shore and Lynn Public Schools that if you were to get the designation, because at first we didn't have the designation, if we were to get it, they would then give us another $200,000 a second year and another $200,000 in the third year. So we're looking at $600,000 that we have between North Shore and Lynn Public Schools we have access to. So the consultant that we are currently using for this scheduling work is paid for out of that Smith Family Foundation money.
Okay, so that's a good amount of money.
It is a very good
Sometimes they
amount
give
of
us
money.
very little, and you really can't get much.
And to
done.
just give maybe a little glimpse of numbers, so currently, we are with North Shore. There's a spring course, college course. It's a hybrid course for ninth graders in all three high schools that is covering understanding higher ed is what it's called. There are, 25 students per school that will participate in that course. So there's 75 students right there. On top of that, if this after dark program were to happen, right, which is down the road, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, it would require a sliding day. So they would maybe go to, say, Lynn English, arrive at 10, do their core subjects, English, math, science, social studies, or history, leave Lynn English, go to tech, and finish their day. So their day wouldn't be a 7:30 to 2:45, it would be a 10 to 6. And instead of getting breakfast and lunch, they would get lunch and dinner. And potentially, we're right now looking at the students who are on the wait list. So the kids who apply to tech but don't get in.
Right.
And I believe that's about 60 to 70 kids. So I think initially we're looking at those numbers, but looking to expand it, like Shannon said, we want it out there for all students. And we want a variety of pathways to go. The student who wants a job, a skill, right, to be part of the workforce. A student who wants to go to college. A student who might need to go to North Shore first and then to college. The work is so multifaceted. It does have the potential for hundreds.
Okay.
Member Nicholson, then Member Satterwhite.
Thank you. Just quickly on that, about for the kids that are on the wait list at Lynn Tech. I remember when we talked about the graduation rates recently and how high they were at Tech, and just the idea of getting that many more kids on that in that kind of pathway, I think is really exciting. But my question was, so I think one of the exciting things about the career pathways is that they conceivably lead to a job at the end of them, a good paying job, and to set a student up for success. That is obviously dependent on external trends in the job market, and I think one of the challenges I would imagine of setting up a program like this is that it takes us years to build a program because we're an education institution, and the job market is always changing, and so there's and it's a little bit outside of our typical expertise in sort of predicting job market trends. Is there an opportunity in the planning and working with CTAC to be getting feedback from industry, from employers in terms of the particular hiring needs?
So for the latest grant that we just wrote, we relied on Mass Hire for data, and so the tracks that we built are based on that employment data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Member Satterwhite, then Member Ford.
I just want to, Brian had said that he loved the picture here that said "love to learn." The more you speak and the more we're discussing this, it's like love to learn ... love to learn a career after high school, or love to learn a career before higher education, where some kids go to school and just go to school and they end up not liking what they're studying, and it's after they spent a lot of money. But I think it would be silly not to do this, especially with partners that have successful resources as well as results. And again, this is outside of the district. It's North Shore Community College has its own bubble and own resources and success that our students can benefit from. The same thing with Salem State University. And there are multiple entrepreneurs and small businesses and large businesses in the city that can instill and have a lasting impact on our students, and it makes absolutely perfect sense to do it. So I like that. The more we talk about it, we're able to see that you're going to learn a career after high school, or you're going to learn a career before you go to college and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a degree that you might not like. So I'd love for more follow-ups on this. I think that this is a big thing for our city. I think that it would definitely be good for families, especially not knowing, especially with the overcrowding and all that stuff. This is some good news.
Member Ford.
Today you and I discussed the 560 new students that had come in, and we were discussing the futility and the frustration of trying to educate these late entry students in the standard format. Would there any fit for any of those students in this?
Potentially, right. So one thing I love about the way that Mrs. Gardner framed this project is that it's flexible and really designed to meet the needs of different students. And so what Member Ford is referring to, and we'll touch upon later on, is the March 2019 until just a few days ago, we enrolled a little more than 400 new high school students, not Lynn Public Schools K-12, just high school students. And so that's a lot of new students with differing needs. And so this project is designed, the thinking here is like, how do we be really, really flexible and provide opportunities for students to excel, regardless of where they're coming from, or that really fits their needs. So yes is the answer to that question.
Thank you.
Yes, Member Castellanos.
So I just have a question about the participants. I know we have all like Lynn Public School. I didn't see Salem State or North Shore Community College in the participant ring. Not saying that they're not. I just would make a suggestion to have some sort of partnership with participants, because they're kind of, if we want to learn from an early college experience, that's what they do.
Jill Thornton's on.
Jill's on.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. She's maybe 4 above the technical.
Excuse me. My apologies. Do we have a Salem State person?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, that'd be
We
good
have
then.
met with Salem State, and we are in the process of pursuing a designation, an early college designation with them. We currently have students who go to Salem State through an early college class, and so we're looking to expand that partnership. We will be having someone from Salem State.
Can I trouble you to say something quickly about the CTAC participants also? Because I think it just doesn't say who they are, like what their background is. But I think it's important.
It says the school reform and the school turnaround?
Yeah, that's not enough.
Okay.
There's more.
Oh.
Yeah. Or I can. I want to. Okay, so the folks, the technical assistance providers, the folks beneath that, and I credit Shannon and the designers of this process. So those are all educators from various sectors of the profession. So there's a person who's coming from vocational technical experience. There's say again. There's higher ed, right? So those folks represent in really meaningful ways the different facets of the thinking that we're doing around this work. So we've got thought partners, like really experienced thought partners in this process. That was a point that I thought was important.
I checked off those things because I thought those were cool. Thank you.
Again, I'm just so excited about that. It's brilliant. Like I hope the newspaper puts that in there. Like today, brilliant. Lynn Public Schools.
Can I just put a little bug in your ear in terms of policy? Similar to with the attendance initiative a year ago, the attendance policy had to be tweaked because of that. Potentially, we may need to tweak in terms of the policies around number of credits students have to have. The state has certain requirements for them to be able to graduate. Lynn Public Schools has also some requirements that might interfere or might not. We won't know until we go through this process, but we may have to come to the table to talk about, do we need to do some tweaking with our policies in order for kids to be able to slide their schedule, or for students to be able to do internships. They can now, but there is some credit pieces that we need to just be mindful of. So we don't know yet, but once we get through this work, we may have to ask for something.
Member Gately.
I was just wondering if you looked into Beverly. Beverly does an internship program and has been doing it for years for seniors, and they get credit for it. So I didn't know if you looked into it. I would suggest that you look into it. If not, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job, Shannon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice job.
My teacher.
Next, under new business, field trip request. Sergeant Major, would you like to come forward and?
Well, I'd be an honor to come forward.
Where are we going now, Sergeant Major?
We're going to our beautiful place, Mexico, New York.
Mexico.
Again?
That's funny.
It is the beginning of the 2019-2020 drill season, and of course, Mexico always hosts the first all-service drill competition. And we've been, of course, invited back to participate. And again, just like I say every year, everybody wants to put the bullseye on our back and just literally beat our butt.
But they
Try.
don't.
They try. They try.
They still welcome you back, knowing the challenge they face to defeat you. Is that what's happening?
And when they tell me about how they have 28, 30 loyal, dedicated kids that show up for drill practice in the morning, I kind of laugh, and I tell them that I had 82 show up last Monday for drill practice. They kind of go, well, now we understand why you're
Well, so great work going on, and it's a great program.
If I could just say briefly, separate and apart from the trip, the opening day convocation would not have worked were it not for your team of students, you and your team. Just for the record, I had a meeting with Sergeant Major and 2 students the week before. They're like mini professionals. I felt like I was sitting across the table I almost cried. It was like, this is wonderful. And they took it and ran with it. They were amazing. But it's just a testament to the leadership and their discipline and their skilled kids.
And if I can add just a little bit away from the trip, if you saw the item that the paper did about the Lynn English High School ROTC was voted the #1 program in the Northeast area, which goes from Maine all the way to Illinois, Michigan, out of 65 Marine Corps schools. And it's a synopsis of all the stuff they do in a year from June 1st to 31 May. The students last year did over 7,000 community service hours. They did 172 veterans community service events. There were so many kids involved in so many clubs, and there were so many kids who received so many awards, and there was actually, out of the 33 students who graduated from ROTC, they received $117,000 in scholarships to go to college. So the kids are amazing. They just are unbelievable. They never stop and never say no to anybody. Never say no.
You can't go to many events that the ROTC is not at, or helping make that event very special. So, not only in Lynn.
My wife told me I have to clone another one of me because I'm working too much.
Maybe two more.
Sergeant Major, I get a little worried about that.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. You want to just explain the trip?
The trip is, again, we leave on a Friday. We go Friday, drive to Mexico. We do a overnight with the other teams, a social evening where they get to socialize from all the other schools from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. And then we start the competition early in the morning at 7 o'clock on Saturday, and by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they're done, and it's either like hate us or they like us.
So it's a request.
Yeah, I am thrilled to request approval for the MCJROTC from Lynn English to attend the drill competition in Mexico Academy in Mexico, New York.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call required.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Sadoway?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Good luck.
And
Good luck.
Thank you so much, and
Best of
thank
luck.
you for all your support. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is an update on the city budget, and I can't see if
He's here.
Mike Patino is hiding behind the pole from my perspective. So.
Here we go.
Okay, Mike.
Hello, Mike. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Thank you for having me tonight. Like the mayor said, I just wanted to give you an update on the city budget and the city finances. Everybody is fully aware that in 2018 and 2019 that the city had to borrow $14 million to balance its operating budget. Last year, we not only did we have to borrow the money, we had to rebalance the budget after the finally the governor signed the budget sometime in late July. I'm happy to report this year we did balance the budget with no additional funds, although we did get some more money for the state that went towards education. Overall, the city budget was balanced with no additional borrowings. You know, I tell everybody that, you know, we got into this situation. It took time. It's going to take us time to get out of this situation. But we are in a better place than we were last year. And next year, I hope to be in a better place than we were this year. So I think that we've made some progress, and we're going to continue to make progress. We're very aware of our requirements under net school spending, and the mayor has made it a priority to make sure that we fund net school spending, which we have, and now we're just going to closely monitor that spending to make sure that we stay above it. We have a pretty significant capital improvement plan that was presented to us in conjunction with the Collins Center. It's over $500 million. A large portion of that is dedicated to the schools, and it's my job, along with the mayor and the rest of the staff up at City Hall, to put a plan together to fund those capital improvements. And I believe there's some good things going on at the State House that will, you know, give us a little bit of relief, but we're always looking to create some budget space that we can afford to attack this capital improvement project, which is has quite, you know, several $100 million dedicated to the schools. I'm just here now if anybody has any questions about the process or any concerns. Like I said, it took us a while to get here. We are in a better position today than we were last year, and we're making improvements on a monthly basis, and hopefully each year we'll be able to get better, create some budget space, and hopefully start you know, addressing our capital needs for the entire city.
Couple of points. I know Mike and Kevin McHugh have been working very closely together and meeting and continuing that good partnership and relationship, which I think is very important for us as we move forward. So we work together and do what we need to do to keep the budget moving in the right direction. And we're also, as well as myself and Mike, trying to get out to the schools, to visit the schools, and I think continue to get a feel for some of the challenges the facilities are facing, as well as the we talked about a little bit earlier in terms of the increasing student population. So working together to try and find capacity and space to try and get some of those needs addressed with our capital plan. But I think it's important to have Mike come in and be in front of the committee, and we can definitely have some questions. So I think Member Nicholson and Member Satterwhite.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, just thank you for coming tonight, for providing the update. I think it's really helpful for us to have that update, and also thank you for being in touch with Mr. McHugh and working with his office. I think that's really helpful for us as a department to make sure everybody's on the same page. And my question is along those lines, because we've talked about the challenge of projecting net school spending and figuring out how that's going to shake out for which involves some estimate assumptions. How are things going in terms of like monitoring that as we go? Are you able to have a better idea of where we're going to end up as the year goes along?
I am. It's a priority of mine to track it monthly. Mm-hmm. This year it's projected at $238 million. So that $238 million is derived by the money that we give the school department directly for their line items, as well as expenses that the city pays on behalf of the school. So I need to monitor those monthly, because we have appropriated slightly more than net school spending, but we have to make sure that we spend that as well. Things like a mild winter where the heat's not on, affects it a little bit, because the money is there, but our bills may not be as high. The insurance markets this year, they took a turn for the worse. Property insurance went up significantly. The school, we have 27 school buildings, so that part of the budget went up a little bit. So we have to continually monitor these expenses, because it is a challenge. Because we have appropriated enough money, we have to make sure it's spent. We know you can spend it on your side of the equation, but our side of the equation is more into maintenance, utilities, various insurances. So we're constantly monitoring that. And again, I'm always in touch with Kevin to make sure that we're looking at things and he knows where I stand, and vice versa.
Great. Thank you.
Member Satterwhite.
Thank you. So I attended the meeting that the mayor presented the capital improvement plan with regards to what you said is about $500 million, and it includes our schools. I want to know if the timeline is stalled or changed by what appears to be happening at the State House, because it sounds like you were happy that people are talking about this stuff. But there was a plan that was presented, I think, with some goals. It's not stalled with the hope that that's going to happen at the State House, right?
No, our plans haven't stalled. I mean, okay. I would say where we expected to be.
Okay.
It's nice to know that they're talking about, increasing the cap on the school business authorities, their funding formula. That's going to help us. I think we have to look, at the elected officials as well as us individually as department heads, and make sure we collaborate together on getting a plan that we know we can get to yes on, because it's important. You don't want to.
We have ISD, your office, the school department. Yeah.
Everybody that can add value, that can collaborate. We were in one of the schools today with the mayor, and we see the need. The need's great, and I particularly like to do things so that I'm around to see the results. So I think it's important that, again, we collaborate on all levels of government to get this, and not just wait until our back's against the wall. We have to stay ahead of it.
So we'll have you for at least 9 years. Like you said, you like to stay until You see the results. So I'm adding
Yeah,
4
I'm-
years to the 5.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I think that, again, there's a lot of passionate people in this city, and I see the passion tonight when you talk about the different programs, and that's great. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to make time to meet. We have to put our differences aside. We got to collaborate to find out what's the best way to get to yes. If we don't get to yes, it doesn't work. We need to get to yes, and we need to have shovels in the ground to alleviate some of the crowding. And everybody knows that. And that's a motivator for everybody. So I think it's important, we have the plan. There's opportunities for funding. And now we have to get together and finalize things as from all levels of government and make it happen.
Thank you, Mike.
Member Gately.
I want to thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank you and Kevin for meeting our net school spending over the past 2 years, because it means a lot to us here on the school committee that net school spending is being met and our needs for our students are being met. And I just, I understood. I went to the capital plan meeting and I understood we're moving in that direction so that we can get those new schools for our city. And I just want to thank you for your effort and your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you, Mike.
I think we're going to try and, every few weeks, have Mike available. Like I said, I know Kevin and Mike are working closely together, but as different things change, or I think it's just good to have the FaceTime together and get a chance to talk and ask questions or strategize on what we can do to move some of our important agenda forward, particularly on the capital side. So I want to thank Mike for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next on the agenda is a request to accept donation of school supplies from North Shore Medical Center staff.
Make a motion to accept the donation of school supplies from the North Shore Medical Center staff.
Second?
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the North Shore Education Consortium.
I can speak to that. As I'm sure the committee is aware, the Lynn Public Schools has been a partner with the North Shore Education Consortium for a number of years. And by way of brief reminder, the consortium is comprised of 5 schools that offer highly specialized programs for students with needs that the district is unable to meet. By rule, the consortium requires representation from each of its 19 member districts. And it's my understanding in its 40-year existence that representation has come in the form of a superintendent. However, in the spirit of full disclosure, in their bylaws, I believe it is, it can come in the form also as a school committee member or superintendent. That said, I respectfully request that you nominate me to its board so I can continue to build our relationship with them, not only as a member on the board, but I'm also on the finance subcommittee, so we can just kind of keep an eye on what's going on there. So I respectfully request that you appoint me.
Okay. Make a motion. Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to appoint Patrick Tutwiler, the superintendent, as the board member for the North Shore Education NEC for, is it 19 and 20?
It has to be done each year, so yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda, vote on dates for superintendent evaluation.
I don't have a recommendation for dates, but I do have information that I think would be important related to it. I think you received an email from Mary Jules last week or earlier this week, informing you that accountability data was publicly released on Tuesday. We plan to, say again?
I looked, but I couldn't find it.
It's on there. It's on the DESI website. It's on there. I can give you something this evening if you'd like. I have it in paper form. But I plan to do a presentation at our next meeting, a deep dive on how we performed. And I'm really excited to do so. So that'll happen at the next meeting on the 10th. So,
Mr. Nicholson.
The 24th?
Yeah, so looking at the sheet that they gave us last time, the first date we need is the end of cycle report, right?
Mm-hmm.
When do you think would make sense for you to provide the end of cycle report?
I could have that also by the 10th.
Okay. What do people think about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. October 10th, is that okay with you?
Okay, so.
So for the
We're
report.
getting the reports on then, right on the 10th, so are we looking to the following meeting for the actual evaluation?
Right. So I would assume there'd be separate meetings. We get the report on the 10th, the end of cycle report.
But then the meeting on the 31st is possibly canceled. So we would
Have
just.
to go to the first meeting in November then?
No, not the 24th. It'd be the 31st, it says. That's the next meeting in October, right?
Right, but we could
Which we're
meet on
potentially.
the 21st.
But we could, change the
Move it
meeting.
to the 24th,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
That's usually what we do.
the 24th of October.
So we're having,
So I think we're
Is
just
it-
talking out of order now, unfortunately.
I'm looking now.
That's the STEM, isn't it, the STEM?
It is that evening, the 24th.
And is that in the
But it's 4 to
evening?
7. Yeah, it ends at 7. So we could still,
4 to 7.
Where is it?
Does that work?
that STEM community fair.
So we would need to pick the dates and then address what we're going to address in canceling the 31st and rescheduling it for the 24th.
Okay.
Does that work for the members?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is due October 24th. Oh my God. But.
No excuse.
Yeah.
We know she's not getting it till
Depends on the
Sunday.
timing, right, Sharon?
Yeah, exactly.
Would that work? Obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
we have to go ahead, so, yeah.
It's anywhere around that as
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
So I say, one, we need a couple of motions here to, I think, accept the dates and then.
Well, so there's a couple more dates, because we need to decide about the, so that's when we get the individual evaluations, and then we need a date for the composite evaluation, and then a date for the final evaluation.
Well, I would say whoever's the person is, who could be Mary or someone
compiles
else, give them some time. So it might be not the following meeting, but the meeting after that.
Which is also going to potentially be rescheduled, because that would be Thanksgiving, right?
Oh, yeah. This end of year, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, 10/24 is moving up. The next meeting is.
The 7th?
Yeah, November 7th. That's like 2 weeks. Or whatever. What's the?
Then we have the
14th.
14th.
The 14th is the next one. So that
Yeah.
That works.
It's actually not a bad time.
Okay, so then the completed individual evaluations come in 10/24, and then the composite evaluation is ready 11/14. And then would we do the final evaluation the first meeting of December then?
That's fine.
Yeah.
7th, delete the 7th.
Oh, fly by.
I won't be available.
Did you get that?
So, but
Wait, what day?
the meeting, what, is that the 12th? I don't know.
12th.
The
12th of December.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's okay.
the 12th, yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Brian, you forget when we meet?
Mr. Nicholson.
No, I was looking, I'm all over my map right now. Excuse me.
That works. Yeah, the dates would be October 10th for the end of cycle report.
I want to make it in the form of a motion, just so she can.
Okay, so before we make the final motion, do we want to decide now what we're doing for the composite? Who's doing the composite?
Are we good with Mary?
Yeah.
I think that makes the most sense,
Makes
yeah.
a lot of sense.
And I think we had Dorothy Presser had mentioned that we can decide whether we want to have a form of the composite that lists everybody's comments, so we see everybody's and see whatever the composite is, which I think would make sense, but I think that's a decision we have to make.
Do we want it to be confidential, or, I don't mind either way. I think that it's good to know where our head is.
Okay, yeah, I do as well. So then the motion, I think, is, if we're all on the same page, we move to set the dates as follows for the superintendent evaluation procedural steps. The superintendent provides end-of-cycle report October 10th. The committee members submit completed individual evaluations October 24th. Our compiler, secretary of the school committee, Mary Jules, creates composite evaluation November 14th. And the individual evaluations will be shared with the entire committee. And then the final evaluation presented December 12th.
Second? Oh, is it open for discussion? No.
Discussion if you like, or if everyone's on board, we can move forward on that.
I second.
I second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. And just for clarification, I think we should also take a vote. We picked the dates, take a vote on to move the 31st to the 24th.
I make a
So I don't think it was part of the motion. Okay.
I'm sorry, I make a motion to move K up to now, so we can vote on canceling the October 31st, 2019 meeting and holding a special meeting for October 24th, 2019, starting at 7.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll take that agenda item up now.
Make a motion to cancel October 31st, 2019 meeting and hold a special meeting on October 24th, starting at 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Roll call required.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Okay. So next on the agenda is a vote on the strategic plan.
Yeah, may I just quickly? At our last meeting, we spent some time looking at and discussing the strategic plan, and I have extra copies here if need be. By way of brief reminder, this is a collaboratively developed guide that we will follow for the next 5 years, in case someone needs one. I really want to drive home the point that this is a markedly different approach than in years past. The guide provides us a concrete path forward. Each year there are foci and deliverables designed to work in service of the strategic objectives. Again, I want to invite the committee to think of this as somewhat of a flexible plan and not etched in stone. We need the flexibility to shift or reprioritize as the needs arise. What you're voting on is approval of this document as a guide for our work together for the years ahead. Also, by way of reminder, you can expect detailed updates on the work identified in the plan, data shares as it relates to progress, and portraits of how the work is playing out at the district level, in schools, or in the community this year and in years to come. Once again, the plan is not mine, it's ours. It's a lot of work, but I think it reflects the right work, the right direction, leading to the right outcomes to drive the district in the direction it needs to go. And I respectfully ask for your approval.
Member Satterwhite, then Member Nicholson.
I'm going to reiterate what I said last time. Dr. Tutwiler, I know this isn't just something that came from you. It's from your leadership team and many others. But I think that hearing about this, hearing about the design team, hearing about just everything that's going on behind the scenes here and at City Hall, it's great. It really is. I think that the vision, the core values, the detail is magnificent. I know that the last meeting we were asking if there were going to be any changes. It looks like it's the same document as last time. The concerns that we had with parental involvement and what we're going to do as a district to improve that. Obviously, we didn't know about the design project before, so this is new to us. But it would have been great to know about that before this, because again, this is stuff that's happening that we'll be very happy with. But obviously, there's always a place and a time to put it out there. Again, I'm just voicing my positivity in this particular thing, and I just I just want to make sure that you continue to have voices of other people helping out. And again, just like with the design project where I said that there were partners that might have resources that we don't have, and successes that we may not have got to yet, that would be beneficial to the district. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And if I could just briefly draw a connection between what Mrs. Gardner presented and Strategic Initiative 1.5. As presentations happen over the course of the year, I'll be making connections. They're going to be related to this plan.
Okay.
I meant what I said when we started this work. This is not going to be a glitzy document that we bless and we put it up on a shelf somewhere. This is the work that we're going to be doing over the course of the next 5 years. So,
thank you.
Member Nicholson.
Thank you. Absolutely agree with Member Satterwhite about the how productive this document is. So very excited about it and appreciated being able to spend a little bit more time with it since we got it last week. I did have a couple follow-up questions.
Sure.
So we had talked about this last week. But do you have a better sense of when the 8 final outcome measures that are going to be set for this fall?
So right now we have we're coming together on a Saturday for a retreat, and we're going to spend some time on goals. We have a draft that we'll present to you that is driven in large part by this, but it'll give you a sense of, for this year, what elements of this work we intend to engage and what specific quantitative outcomes we expect to impact as a result of the work. So, yes, is the answer to that.
Great. On the timelines, for the in the chart here, one of the things I wanted to ask about was the timeline for 1.3 about recruit, support, and retain it over staff. Since that's similar to the goal, the district goal, but it's grayed out.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. On the 10th, next Friday, you're going to get a report that outlines the strategy for increasing the linguistic and racial diversity of our staff. And you're going to see things happening in year one. And so even though it's grayed out here, and a lot of the things you're going to see happening are planning things.
Got it.
There's a grant that we're going to go after. They're planning things for implementation and execution the following year.
Got it. Okay.
But you'll get that next Friday, and it'll be talked about on the 10th.
Okay. And then, in terms of just like a quick note of feedback, I think that for Strategic Initiative 1.5, I felt like some of the other strategic initiatives, just like the wording of it, just purely the language, it was a little bit more aspirational in terms of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like retaining a diverse staff,
Sure.
connecting students to real world applications. And the 1.5, it seemed like that was the start that they would explore, but then there's a next step almost about what could happen.
Yeah.
So I maybe that can be fleshed out in the activities or the indicators that come along with it, but that was the piece of feedback I had, because I think the really rich conversation that we had earlier tonight around 1.5, it almost is already ahead of in terms of the language there. So.
Indeed. I think members Castellanos and Ford would tell you that the conversations around the language in this document were, this is going to sound bad or negative, but almost contentious. People cared that much about every single word. Is it each or is it every? Or is it all? You know what I'm saying? You would agree. And so, where we landed, we had to stop at some point, you know what I mean, and say, this is what it is. We got to move on. But that is helpful feedback. And I'm glad you picked up on the fact that the work is tied to that one in particular is aspirational.
Member Castellanos, then Member Capola.
So that was some of my reflection for like the vision statement. I remember sitting there just going over every one of us were broken down in groups trying to figure out each word in the mission, vision, and also even developing the core values. We spent a lot of time with so many different expertise at the table, from the community partners to the state agencies involved. It was very much reflective in this document as I reviewed it. I studied it, and it was very, this has been very inclusive. I think that's something that I noticed right away when we had Desi, the facilitator, having us all prepared throughout the process. It's definitely something that it's a plan, and it's really when I see social emotional, the word it pops out at me. I can see it all over. That's something that was really relevant when we had these meetings. There was so much passion in the room. Sure. I think a lot of folks in the room were very passionate. Not me, of course, but I definitely it's something that this is inspiring. This mission and the vision statement really hits home as I think back on my career as a Lynn Public School student. The plans that we put in place for the next future generation, it's very important to bend and adjust with the current challenges and barriers that we have as a district, and to prepare for that. And to see this overview broken down in such a comprehensive and strategic manner, it's very innovative, and it's something that it makes me proud. It makes me very excited to be able to be a part of this process with my colleagues. It's something that I will be sharing with my constituent base to know that this is what we're going to be doing, and it's going to definitely take a community as well to support you and your team as we move forward with this plan, and the educators and the folks who are on the ground every day. I get to see it every day as a social worker, so I get to, I get to see it, and it's very inspiring. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Member Capola.
On the 3-6, pursuing grant funding, seeing that we appointed somebody tonight, would that be part of what Laura Halika's job would be? Okay, and I noticed that it's blacked out for 2 years, though.
She doesn't go after grants. She
Capital. Well, pursuing capital.
Laura.
Financial part of grants.
Jennifer Kelly, I'm sorry, thank you, who is as our grant writer, would be more actively involved in the pursuit. Okay. And the new addition to the professional family is more around managing. Thank you, Kevin, you're right.
Okay, so why is it blacked out? Why it would be?
This does not mean that we are not actively and aggressively pursuing grants. As a matter of fact, I'm going to speak to it in detail in my superintendent's report. There's a number, and actually Shannon mentioned a grant that they're going after. You can only, the action plan around it, like how are we being strategic about what we're going after? It's just not something that we can take on with all of the other strategic initiatives that we're working on this year.
Okay.
But that does not mean, just to be clear, that we're not pursuing grants. We most certainly are.
Okay, great.
No other questions? It's a request to accept, to vote on the strategic plan.
Make a motion to accept the strategic plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Take a roll call.
Mr. Cassianos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is update on maximum age of admission.
All right. On January 31st, you approved a shift in the policy for the maximum age for school admission. Specifically, you provided me the authority to evaluate registrants who have attained the age of 20. The shift allows the district to respond more quickly to meet the new needs of students, as the previous policy called for school committee approval. The policy calls for an update, and I believe it's every 6 months. Given that March through September are the busiest registration months, it seemed prudent to give you an update now. Since the adoption of the policy, there have been 2 registrants who were 20 years of age. One student only required 3 classes to graduate, and that student graduated in June. The other had no high school credits at the time and was connected with a HiSET preparation program. Happy to answer any questions you might have about that.
Chairman Castellanos.
Just out of curiosity, what was the HiSET preparation program?
I believe it was the, not Bootstrap, the new
Broca?
name.
Pathways.
Pathways program.
Okay.
So we recommend, I believe it's 3 HiSET preparation programs, Catholic Charities, North Shore, and Pathways.
No other questions? Next on the agenda is secondary class size. Member Gately.
I've been getting a lot of feedback from teachers, especially at Lynn English High School, about the class sizes, the overcrowdedness, and I just wanted to address this in the meeting so we can see what is going to happen, if we can come up with a solution or brainstorm something out of the box to alleviate the overcrowdedness over there at Lynn English. Probably at Classical, but I haven't heard that much from Classical or Tech. But the people at Lynn English are definitely calling me and letting me know that their class sizes are way too large, and up to the amount of 40 students in a class. And if you have 5 times 40 and you're correcting papers, it's like a lot of paperwork to correct.
Indeed.
So we need to alleviate that. I just don't know what your plans are, if any, on how to do that.
Well, the first step in addressing any problem is understanding the problem. And so the agenda item reads secondary class sizes. So and forgive me for not providing this to you beforehand, but in your packets is a document that looks like this. If I could ask you to just skip the first 2 pages, and I'll come back to those. What follows is class sizes for core content only, right? So I didn't do health and wellness classes. I didn't do music. I did English, math, science, and social studies. So you'll see the number of sections, the average class size, and then the highest number of students in any one section. I think our middle schools are in pretty good shape. And I welcome you to review that. Now I'd go back to the high schools, back to the first page. First thing I will tell you, hot off the presses, 428 this afternoon. The enrollment at Classical High School is 1,697. This excludes, of course, the students who attend the LEAP program. So if you added, so those students aren't.
What's the number again?
1,697. Those students are at FECT O'Leary. They don't set foot in Classical. If you were to run the numbers just for Classical, that number, of course, would be higher because the LEAP students are technically, on paper, belonging to that school. English High School, 1,896 students. Lynn Vocational, 1,331.
What was English again?
English is 1,896. Those are the students who enter in those doors every day at English High. We've taken out the LEAP students, which, if you asked someone, what's the enrollment at English High School? And, I've been hearing over 2,000, but if you take the LEAP students out, it's actually not. The caution that I would make is that even these numbers that I'm sharing with you now, I would much prefer to wait a week or 2. We're still in the process of engaging in the or the withdrawal process. So this represents all of the names of students that are enrolled in the school. It does not mean that that student is actually there. We engage a pretty robust process to, if a student is not there and assigned to the school, to find out where they went. If you just drop them, they end up as a dropout on your data. So we want to make sure that that student is, find out where they are. Did they re-enroll somewhere else? Did they move? And that takes some time. So these numbers could look different in 2 weeks. If I could draw your attention to the first page in that packet that I gave you.
Yep.
I would never marginalize the feedback or the reported experience of a teacher in any one of our schools. And I think what's been reported to you is spot on as it relates to English high school and perhaps classical to some extent. And I'll tell you why. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Ford mentioned the number of new high schools in the district. The first page is school year 19.
Okay.
From March to September, 292 new students. That's the last school year. This school year, leading into this school year, so March until just a few days ago, you'll notice that number is a lot higher. And you'll notice that it's significantly higher at English high school, and in particular in 9th grade. So this is the kind of thing that's really, I want to underscore first, really hard to prepare for. You don't know year to year how many new students you're going to take at any particular level. And so I don't think there was any way to know that there was going to be that kind of jump. Let me pause there and ask if there are questions.
Well, especially with, the 8th grade wouldn't have impacted this, so never mind.
Middle schools are pretty good.
Yeah.
Spoken to all the principals, visited visited the middle schools and the Discovery Academy. They're okay.
So that's helped.
It did help.
Good.
Well, absolutely. So if you look at Breed, they're right on the cusp. Those are not small class sizes. But if you were to move 150 students back in there, you're going to see. So it did help.
Member Capola, and then Member Nicholson.
Okay.
Then Member Gately.
Let's look at like English high school. It says 151, so that's the number of students. Is that because are they brand new students or they're brand new students? Okay.
The district, new to the district.
Okay, and was there any effect, because I know our numbers are really high in the middle school, so our graduating class that left English high school had so many students. The ones that were coming in from our middle school, did that affect numbers also for all of these high schools?
There were, not small classes leaving, particularly Marshall and Breed, and going into the high schools, but they're fanning out to different programs, and some of them leave us and go to St. Mary's or go to, Essex Tech. That's something we can plan for and that we're aware of. What we can't plan for is, in particular in grade 9, 151 new students, especially given the fact that the previous year at English high school, grade 9, between the same period of time, we brought in 35.
Okay.
So that's the rub. I mean, that explains, like, oh, wow, we've got a lot of students here. This feels a little different, and it does. But before I go on, I think someone else had a question, unless they're...
Just one thing. Before, when we got something like this, we were also given like where they're coming from. Are they moving here from Boston? Are they coming from other countries, or coming north of us or wherever? So at some point, if you update that, because I know this is only through today, but if you could, it kind of gives us a better idea also.
Yes.
I absolutely want to update you on this. And again, when I led by saying it's a little early, these numbers might shift. By mid-October, I'd be able to say definitively this is where we stand. So I'll plan to come at a meeting, the meeting shortly thereafter.
And just one
share.
other thing, also after October 1st, we've always been given a list of the ones coming back from charter.
Yep.
So if you don't mind giving us that also.
Member Nicholson, then Member Gately.
those were basically both my questions. I think that's it. It is hard to predict, but to the extent that we can figure out what's going on, maybe that makes us better at predicting or whatever. So I think that makes sense.
Member Gately?
Dr. Tutwiler, I'm really, really concerned with the numbers, like honors physics, 38 students in a class, history of America, 37, 36 U.S. history, 1, 42 in U.S. history.
I'm sorry, for which, are you in English?
I'm looking at English, because I briefly looked at classical and.
Second to last page.
Third.
Sorry.
Second and third. But like, as a teacher, if I was teaching Algebra 2 and I had 36 students in my class and I'm expected to reach and teach every student, we need to help these people. We hired teachers, we hired assistants to a lot of administrators, and these teachers, they need help with these large numbers. I can't imagine teaching an honors chemistry class with 28, and I look at the physics teacher, and his regular class is 33. I'm just like, 38 in an honors physics class, these numbers are really, like, they have to be, something has to be done. I don't know what it is you're going to plan to do, but I would like a report on what's going to happen to fix this or try to repair, and I will. You know how I am. I will start thinking of out-of-the-box thoughts so we can help teachers, but these are like really unacceptable. I don't think I, as an educator, could reach all those students in a science class, because that's my experience, And I know they're fantastic teachers. I know
They're excellent.
Mr. Bigler, and they are excellent. But there's only so much you can ask of a teacher.
I as I've often said, this district will rise or fall on the backs of its direct service providers. I could be awesome, but if they don't have, and the jury's still out on that, but if they don't have what they need and aren't supported in doing the work that they do, the needle won't move. And so I will say this, as you look through the average class sizes, the positive is that in courses that serving students that require more individualized attention, those classes are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So in your honors classes, your AP classes, those are, and I agree with you.
I
and in the
understand
science, it is. I'm not marginalizing the challenge in taking home stacks of completed work, because in those classes, kids are going to do all the work. They're going to show up every day. They're going to do all the work. I am not saying that it's easy, but my point is, if there's one positive that I could point to, it's that in the classes where there is more individualized attention required, the numbers are a little bit smaller. In as much as it relates to a solution, right now, I don't think there's an elegant one. And part of that stems from the fact that, if Mr. Strange were sitting here right now, does a lot of things really well. One thing that he does every year, he's been doing it for a dog's age, is scheduling. And he knows that the room utilization at English High School is almost at 100%, meaning, even if we hired additional staff, there's nowhere for them to teach.
He has said that a couple of times.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every room is used.
So that it requires the long-term solution. I think exists partly in what Mrs. Gardner presented earlier, and partly in thinking about other solutions.
One other thing,
Yeah, but I walked through English today. I don't think there was one place where you could.
Yeah, there's not.
that's why it's scary.
But with all due respect, it's, and I respect what you're saying, but I've also been over there, and I've seen passing. That school is so well run. I mean, those students move from here to there quietly and respectfully. Are the lunches crowded? Yes, they're crowded. They've had their required fire drill. They did so without incident and met the expectations of the fire department. They have a lockdown drill planned for Monday. The expectation is that they'll execute that with the same success, as they did last year.
I don't
and
have
so,
any doubt on that.
Is it ideal? No, it's not. But I believe in the educators there. It is a well-run school, and I think we will get through this.
Well, I hope we can get as supportive of those teachers as we possibly can.
Agreed.
And as far as the Discovery program,
Yeah.
I've been told that they really love it and they're doing great.
Well, that's fantastic.
So I wanted you to know I did get feedback on that program.
Thank you. That's great.
Any other questions? Next on the agenda is portable classrooms.
Yeah, I think this question on class sizes was a perfect segue into the portable classrooms. I know the ideal situation for overcrowding is to build your way out. I think we are beyond the time frame where we can look to build our way out. If we were to go into the pipeline next year, we'd still be 4 years away from a new school. And I really think that we should start with portable classrooms ASAP to have them by September at English High. We have, it's basically, it's a, you lease or buy the portable classroom, but the big money is the allocation of site preparation. And, but I think initially we should really set a target date or even take a vote tonight on starting a move forward for at least portable classrooms at English. And I think maybe down the road we look at Breed as well, in that there is some space available on the Breed campus. Those are two places where we could, I think we need English right now. I think if we, talk to Joe Smart, I think if we got going ASAP, we could be ready for September.
Member Gately?
I just would like some clarification on, when you talk about the portable classrooms, how many rooms are in it? Can you give me some background on that? I'm really not familiar with a lot of portable classrooms.
Probably 2 per building is what typically it
rooms?
is. 2 rooms, 2 classrooms
Where was the one?
per portable.
The school we went to for the
Tracy has 2. Hood School has, I don't know. Do they have
That one has 4.
Sisson has
actually.
one.
4 classrooms in
In-
that
Four
Ingles
classes.
has some, right?
Is
in that
4?
one portable? There's 4?
Yeah.
But they're typically 2, but they can go up to 4 depending on what you
Yeah.
can buy. Depends
So
on
2
what
to
you can
4.
buy and what they can look like.
Yeah, they used to have 4 at KIP. I don't know, at that time, I had talked to Josh Sawyer, and it was $500,000 in site preparation. I'm sure it's much higher now.
Member Satterwhite? And then Member Castellanos.
I went to, I finished high school in Florida, and half of the school was portable classrooms. And it's until you can get enough funds to build a building, those are solutions. And I didn't have a bad experience. I know that when I went to Sisson with you to visit the principal and students, they're conditioned. They're not bad at all, but they're not a permanent solution. They're a temporary solution. And I think that the issue that we have is if your building's at 100% capacity, even if you hire and bring a body in, where are they going to teach? So I think that that's where we're finding the issues. And even if we can get 2 of the 4 or 2 of the 2, it's still a step forward in the right direction. So I just wanted to let people know that I've experienced it. It's not a bad thing.
Thank you.
No problem.
Member Capola?
Is there a, had anybody put any costs in writing that we could see or understand, like the prep that it would take? And, where are we getting the money from? And just maybe we could have that like a next meeting, put it on a next meeting, without delay. So if it is something that we need to do, and we're looking towards September, have it done. But we sort of need to have that information.
Member Castellanos, then Member Ford.
I had a similar question for cost, but also our faculty perspective. just maybe ask, I think you're getting some insight on how they feel about portable classrooms. I think having, if that's a solution, it's a temporary solution, and it could be a possibility when you weigh out the cost, because obviously we're in a position where we have overcrowded schools, but cost is a major piece, but also I think we have winters. I want to say Attorney Satterwhite said it's Florida, portable houses in Florida. I mean, portable schools in Florida, I get it, but the winter times are pretty rough around here.
We have portables already in the district
I know
with
we
the
have
winter.
a couple, but how are they, like what's happening with those? Like, what are some of the feedback from them for cost? And I just would like to see some analysis on that. So, and strategically, what schools to put them at? So, I think some of these questions are important.
Member Ford?
Well, as far as money, we just got $1 million that we have to spend by June. That would be one avenue which should cover the cost. And just to a point, the portables usually have a 20-year life expectancy, or they're recommended. And I think the one at Hood is now going
Older
on
than that.
like 35 years.
Yeah, older than
And
that.
it's doing pretty well, and they are winterized.
It's all been redone.
Yeah, and I know it was
It's
done by
brand- it's
Inspection
brand new.
Services, they did it, but
Yeah.
it just shows you we're getting very good mileage out of that particular classroom.
Beautiful. Portables at Hood are gorgeous.
Member Satterwhite?
So what Donna had requested, is that something that we can get done and put this on for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know the level of so this would be done in partnership with ISD.
Yeah.
I don't know the level of specificity they'd be able to offer about cost, but at a minimum, at a high level, sure.
Perfect.
Member Nicholson?
I think that this all makes total sense, and I just want to quickly say thank you for the creative thinking with everybody about how to solve this, and particularly to the teachers for their flexibility and making this work, because they're still doing what they do every day, and which takes extraordinary effort. And I also just think I find it striking that these numbers jump like this, because I think at some level it's got to say something about the value that people see in coming to a school like Lynn English, that it's attracting students that are trusting their futures with us. And while obviously it's creating this challenge here, I think in some ways it goes back to the positive things that are happening at Lynn English, that people see a future there.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Next on the agenda is feminine hygiene products and bathrooms. Member Nicholson?
Thank you. Yeah, so this was something that I noticed that other districts have been working on, Boston, Providence, other states as well, New York, Illinois, California, as an equity issue, as a way to address needs that are affecting our students' learning, and obviously have a disproportionate effect to our female students, and a way to make people feel more comfortable and ready to learn by addressing sort of a basic need that they have. So I had asked the administration to look into what other districts were doing and what we were doing and how that would play out.
In your packet, there's a document. First, just yesterday, in our meeting with ISD, I was passed that bill, which calls for all public bathrooms, including those in schools, to provide feminine hygiene products. And so ISD is already sort of wrapping their head around what that would look like in the Lynn Public Schools and beyond, all the public buildings that they're responsible for managing. And so it's in bill form, just sort of reading the tea leaves. And sort of doing a little research on what the conversation is around this. I think this is going to sail through. And so the only thing that I would point out in preparation for this meeting, I asked the nursing department to, sort of give us some feedback on, the frequency with which our female students come down and request feminine hygiene products, and you can see there in total it was about 2,700 times. So every time a student comes to the nursing office, they capture the reason for the visit, so we can keep data on that. My only concern about moving forward and completely embracing all of the positive aspects of sort of universal access in bathrooms is that is, or potentially likely, 2,700 fewer connections between student and nurse in that office. That's my only concern about that, because often while a student might go just to get that particular item, a conversation is had, a connection is made, a potential problem is headed off. And so my only worry about moving forward with this would be a disruption to that interaction. But that aside, it becomes law. It's what we're doing. And so it'd be incumbent upon the nurses and school administration to kind of think about ways to keep those relationships happening and solid. So, as it relates to this, again, ISD is already beginning to think about the budget implications and moving forward. We just got this yesterday. I had heard nothing about it, about a bill in Mass. I know that New York and 2 or 3 other states,
Illinois, California,
thank you, have made that move, and looks like we're headed that direction also.
Brianna, you'd like to weigh in?
I would just like to say thank you for having me here. This is a great opportunity. While I do agree with you, Mr. Tutwiler, there are some great connections made with nurses and students. It's also, this bill is mostly for kids who have really bad anxiety, are more shy and don't feel like, the little, it gets rid of that anxiety feeling. It's just like, all right, I can go to the bathroom, come back, not miss anything from class, not have to give that certain look of embarrassment, if you get my understanding.
I totally do. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Brianna. Member Satterwhite.
And my wife's a school nurse, and some of the things that I think that when they come to the school nurse, that they have the private bathroom typically that's what the school nurse uses, and not everyone knows what you're doing in there, and if there's something that you don't want to, the stigmatism, it can be in either direction, I think, especially when you have the privacy and you can throw away what you need to throw away. No one sees what you're doing. Yet if you go in the general bathroom, it's whoever's walking in is going to, be able to notice that stuff. So it's a bill that I think means well. I think that our students need to know that these products are available to them, and what they're going through, it's something that they can speak to a medical professional about, and that's what's good. The more I read into this, it just says that the school district needs to make them available in a convenient manner. But it also talks about it being in restrooms. So maybe the final bill will be a little bit more clear.
Member Nicholson?
Thank you. All those points make a lot of sense. I mean, the other thing for us to remember here is that I think it's good that ISD is looking into us and getting those cost estimates. I think that'll be really crucial. We don't need to wait for a bill to set a policy about how we want to treat this. I think whatever happens in the State House, that follow-up from ISD to understand the feasibility of this would be helpful. And in some ways, it's not that students wouldn't be able to go to the nurse's office, and it's not, so it's in some ways it's empowering the student to make that decision about how they best would be served by the need that they have.
Yep, that's fair.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have addressed agenda item K, a vote to cancel the November 28th and the December 26th meetings.
Where is it?
Make a motion that we cancel November 28th and December 26th meetings due to holidays.
Second.
It's the second, requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is ratification of votes in the Building and Grounds Subcommittee.
The Building and Ground Subcommittee voted to accept the lease agreement between the YMCA and the Lynn Public Schools. I can move it to the full committee for vote.
Second?
There's a second.
Second.
Require a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. I have the copies of the lease that I will sign and pass to each member.
Yes.
There you go.
They signing, where are they signing? Thank you.
You really finish. Take another second.
Okay.
Signing a lease. This is crazy.
No notary. Did executive session, wake up. No, it's gonna be.
Thank you. Make a motion to switch the final piece of the agenda, communications and information, which includes the superintendent's report, to be the next agenda item.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We will take that up now.
Okay.
Superintendent Tutwiler?
Yes, there should be a superintendent's report in your packet. Attorney Satterwhite, take out your red pen. But I don't think you need it. I'm pleased to report that we are beginning to settle into a stride. At all levels, the beginning of the school year is very much about making connections, building trust, establishing routines, in addition to teaching. By my observation and reports from building leaders, this is happening in wonderful ways across the district. We expect factors to push the norm in one way or another, but it's clear that we're moving smoothly. This past summer was the first for the Technical After School Program, or TAP, summer extension. The summer session ran from June 24th to July 17th. Students entering grades 9 to 12, as well as those entering the Discovery Academy, engaged in programming at Lynn Tech 3 days a week from 8 to 1:30 p.m. Students were offered 5 vocational areas, which included culinary arts, auto collision and repair, intro to plumbing, graphic communications, and IT. From 8 to 12, students received a hands-on vocational experience. Every student had the opportunity to get an industry-recognized certification. Culinary, the ServSafe and Allergen certifications, and IT, the HTML5 certification. From 12:30 to 1:30, students worked on obtaining the online OSHA certification. Students participating in the summer programs for Breed All-Stars and Marshall Project Yes came to TAP for a day. Those students were exposed to culinary arts and screen printing. Each student left with a screen printing t-shirt and a bag of cookies, all of which they made themselves. In total, a little more than 100 students, including the middle school participants, participated in the TAP summer program. We intend to launch the TAP program again this year, leveraging Title IV-A funds. A snapshot of the fall programming and cost is attached. TAP is a unique, forward-thinking program designed to broaden vocational opportunities for interested students. And just quickly, Shannon said there are few programs like this. There are no programs like this. This is the only one. I'm sure of it. Now is as good a time as any to inform you that we've applied for additional grant funding through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The focus of this funding is to build upon the success of TAP to include after-school vocational offerings in industries currently struggling with the scarcity of labor, such as health technology, IT, and advanced manufacturing. That was the After Dark grant that Mrs. Gardner spoke to earlier. As part of the resource selection process, I want to inform you that the English Learner Education Department and the Curriculum Department will soon begin the resource review process for the Spanish-English dual language program, Compañeros, at Harrington School, opening fall of 2020. Also, we'd like to formally update you with a presentation on the progress and planning and in the planning process and next steps for the fall 2020 opening of Compañeros during a November school committee meeting. And I purposely left the date off because I didn't know what direction we were going to go, but you can plan on hearing more about that in November. By way of reminder, much of the planning work for the dual language program was done in partnership with the Salem Public Schools under a DESE grant the district sought and received last year. I just referenced the application for another DESE grant to deepen our technical after-school program. At our next meeting, you'll hear about the implementation of a transitional support program at Classical, paid in full for the next 5 years, by a grant applied for and granted during the 2018-2019 school year. On the advice of one of the members, school committee members, we will be adding a tab to the Lynn Public Schools website that will offer high-level information on grants the district has sought and received. We intend to offer general information for anyone who seeks it, but also to highlight the district's effort to seek additional funding to support meeting student needs. In recent years, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has made an effort to ensure that practices are equitable in schools. Specifically, there's an effort to identify and address practices that negatively impact historically marginalized groups at rates disproportional to their counterparts. I'm pleased to report that DESE has analyzed the data for the Lynn Public Schools for the past 3 years and has not identified significant disproportionality by race or ethnicity in special education identification, placement, or discipline. And there's a letter attached for your review. Last but not least, by now I'm certain that you received formal notice that the district will receive an additional transitional aid in the amount of $1.3 million. This is a one-time allocation that may be used in any way the district sees fit. Given the challenges we are currently experiencing with over-enrollment, particularly at English High School, it seems prudent to earmark those funds in total to support the installation of modular classrooms at Lynn English. This will provide some relief to the class size issue beginning fall 2020. I mentioned this to Mayor McGee in a recent meeting, and I will make a formal proposal to the school committee in our next meeting. Maybe I should hand this out before we, well, whatever. That is all.
You get an A.
Great. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a request for executive session.
I think Lorraine has to say something.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I have my hand up. I can speak
I'm sorry,
for
you
myself.
got this.
Member Gately.
Yes, in full disclosure, I was a former delegate of the Lynn Teachers Union to the North Shore Labor Council. I no longer serve in that role. I would also like to disclose my son is no longer a permanent substitute teacher in Lynn Public Schools. He resigned last April. So I can participate in this union contract.
Thank you. Member Satterwhite.
I request for executive session to discuss the strategies with respect to the collective bargaining relative to Local 1039 Lynn Teachers Union contract. 1037. I'm sorry, I'm seeing things. I'll repeat that. I request for executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining Relative to Local 1037, Lynn Teachers Union contract.
So second?
Second.
Roll call required.
Okay, Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Abstain.
Mr. Ford, abstain. Mr. Ford?
Abstain.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Yeah. Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Just want to go through it.
It's all trash.
I make a motion to go back into the regular session.
Second.
Roll call required.
Ms. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
I make a motion to ratify the votes that were taken in executive session relative to the local 1037 Lynn Teachers Union contract, where the members voted to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Lynn Teachers Union and the Lynn School Committee, which is a new contract that's effective from September 1st, 2019 to August 31st, 2020.
Second.
2020.
Second. That requires a roll call.
Ms. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Abstain.
Abstain. Ms. Ford?
Abstain.
And Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. So we will sign the agreement and pass it around.
Motion to sign the agreement? Is that what?
No, I said we
Oh,
will.
okay.
we will sign
Yes.
it.
Don't worry, I'll hurry.
Are they signing contracts?
I wear glasses. These are my glasses.
Are there 4 of them or 8 of them?
He's got me again.
And Donna, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
And Donna.
Wait, do we sign above?
I'm signing above. Sign above your name.
Okay.
No, it's normally above, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Donna, that's.
That's all right, don't you worry.
Signature's on there, that's all that counts.
Jared made you do it.
We don't sign it, right?
Oh, okay. I'm confused. Okay. You sign right above your name. It's always above. It's like Sheila, see?
Ray, don't look at my signature. It's because it
I'm
throws
not
you all
looking,
off.
I'm just waiting.
It's a double endorsement.
You know?
Yeah, we need a lot of them. Everyone gets one.
22 copies.
22?
That got me.
I'm getting right as man.
Get a rubber stamp, Lorraine.
I have a stamp, but I don't think it's gonna be, it's not, you can't use it on these things.
To whoever.
I feel,
I have a copy for John, too.
just keep in mind, Sheila had to sign just as many.
Where are you gonna send it to? I'm talking to John. For John.
All right, thank you.
Mary? Thanks.
Just a quick question to Attorney Miles. On a couple of them, there was a mistake where the signature should be crossed out and initials, just so it doesn't look like Donna signed it.
Oh, me.
Legally, I wanna make sure, so I'll show you.
I double.
Donna didn't sign that, but he accidentally signed it. Should we get a new copy?
You know how much my daughters are making?
Light it up.
So what are the, what,
The rest are good, so we have
what are the ones that are,
Tom, I signed I signed in above her name.
7, 8.
so just a couple of these, Sheila, are copies anyway. Yeah, so the copies, yeah, those are fine. Those should be fine.
Okay, so you give her one?
And the two,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have it, meeting is adjourned.
All